bigger. Steph?
Well, America's Morning Headquarters has you covered all morning long. Meteorologist Jen Carfagno is here with a look at what's coming up at 9 a.m. It's like another week, another severe weather threat.
I know, and this week things are ramping up. As you guys know, we've been talking about it. I mean, we're going to really have a busy start to the week here with a multi-day severe threat. Now, we're less than 30 minutes from the start of the Boston Marathon.
Someone was running it.
Yeah.
And they were saying that it's so warm. Everyone's complaining that it's going to be too warm for it. But this particular person was like, it's perfect for me.
Yeah, well, it really depends, I think, here. If you're a spectator, if you're
trying to get a PR.
Yeah. The Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast. And what a weekend. For some, it was a beautiful weekend. You didn't think about the weather. For many others here, you had to deal with a lot. The blustery conditions, big waves that we had kicking up in New England's coast. Look at this.
That is pretty tremendous. It doesn't remind me of like April. That's more like a wintertime look to it, doesn't it?
I know. The air felt that way, too. It was brisk out there.
Yeah.
But things have actually turned around weather-wise, and all is settling down just in time for the Boston Marathon today, which I believe is just kicked off, right? Kicked off, kids start like the people crossing the start line.
Have you ever run a marathon?
I have. Have you?
No, I don't think I could run 26 yards, let alone 26 miles.
Well, we're going to chat more about it today and follow the weather. We also have several severe weather threats out there. Blue skies and waves crashing on the shore at Rehoboth Beach yesterday. Not quite warm enough to go in the water, not by even a little bit, but sunny enough to go out there on the sand. And this scene will change starting this afternoon when we got the chance of some storms rolling into the scene. So look, beautiful day out there to enjoy it. Yes, everyone's a little bundled up with at least some jackets on. Today, what we got to watch out for is some thunderstorms. It'll be warmer, yes, but we've got some storm chances coming in. I want to talk about that down here from, say, Ocean City in Maryland. We're going to be looking at storms all the way down through Virginia Beach and back towards Richmond. Travelers heads up as well. And even in the D.C. metro area, we could be seeing some thunderstorms here. The front is coming through, the same one that cleared out the weather for us up in Boston this morning. This is sinking south, and we're going to see the instability building through the area today. Some stronger winds aloft, watching that to kind of drive wind or hail as the main threat for what we would see coming in out of these thunderstorms. And it definitely will be linked to daytime heating. This is going to be more of a late afternoon, early evening kind of thing. And then once the sun sets, the threat will diminish. So you see through the day, the background color is basically the instability. It starts to build. So now we're at 3 o'clock and we start to see a few thunderstorms moving on through. Again, just out of that leading edge of the front. Richmond for you, maybe about 6 or 7 o'clock. Virginia Beach, about the same time, maybe a little bit later. But then once we hit about 10, 11 o'clock, we lose all of that instability, of course, and these do diminish in intensity. All right, Norfolk, let's take a closer look for you at what's going to happen today there and in the Hampton Roads area. We do have that chance of thunderstorms here. It doesn't really come in until about 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, maybe even a little bit after. This is now 7 or 8 o'clock. These storms are coming through. Again, there is the risk for severe weather, so keep that in mind. Make sure you have a way to get warnings. Winds and hail are the main threats that you would see out of thunderstorms in this area. And by the time, 11, 12 o'clock comes around, everything will have moved through and the intensity of the storms will have diminished. Now, let's go back to the big event happening in the middle of the country. Greg, this is about lunchtime on Tuesday. But again, we'll be watching those overnight storms and how they evolve and how they track east. I mean, Greg, there's a lot of conditional probability on the severe. What happens tonight will affect what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, and some of the areas today may not even see thunderstorms, as you mentioned. The warm air aloft the cap, like a lid on a pot of boiling water. That's going to hold things back farther south.
Yeah, no, it is a tough forecast.
Yeah, well, storm threats are not the only thing blasting off. The next generation.
50s, near 50, actually, then warming up through the 60s.
Sounds like good running weather to me.
It sounds like it, but we're not sure. So we're asking you, that's our question of the day. What is your ideal temperature for being a runner, or maybe you're a walker, or maybe you're a volunteer or a spectator? Let us know. We've got a poll going. You can vote, but of course, share in the comments which of these you'd most likely to be and what you like about the weather for the race.
Well, we have some answers. We have Steve who says,
because you're going to warm up. But I don't want to be so cold at the start that I need all these layers.
And it might take a while to get going.
I know.
To warm up, to get your fastest speed, whatever.
Well, you can go to Threads, send us your comments, and share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV, and we will share it on the show. Now this out there, especially New Mexico, is one of the spots that we have some of that larger fire risk. But red flag warnings are up across New Mexico, western Texas, up through eastern Colorado, western Kansas, and even up there into parts of South Dakota, which might be surprising because you think, oh, we've got some thunderstorms in the forecast too. But yes, it's actually going to be pretty warm and dry before we get to that rain chance. So today, a critical fire risk out there across eastern New Mexico, western Texas, stretching all the way up into eastern Colorado. We had a pretty good season, a really good season actually for snowpack across the mountains of Colorado, but the front range is a little bit drier, and so that's what we really have to watch out for. Relative humidities, as we go through the day, they will be dropping. So we're starting off right now with a lot of spots a little bit higher, but look into New Mexico and western Texas, dropping down as we get through the afternoon hours. It'll rebound overnight in the morning typically, and then, drops down again. So it's definitely through the afternoon and evening, which is sometimes some of your peak fire conditions. Out ahead of the dry line is, or along the dry line and maybe just behind it is where we're going to be watching. Look at this heat. I mean, temperatures hitting 90 today in Lubbock. So the heat is on, the dew points are low, just a bad combination for things. And we'll see more heat as we get through the day, all the way up into eastern Colorado and the front range and down through New Mexico. Winds could be very gusty, in excess of 50 miles per hour, and that would easily fan the flames or push a fire. So these are all concerns that we have. Look at some of these winds here blasting through the area, and then we'll have to keep it on Tuesday and Wednesday winds as well, actually, right through the zone. And the forecast for tomorrow is still watching. It's an elevated risk right across this very same area in New Mexico and western Texas, Greg.
Well, with a multi-day severe threat unfolding.
But yeah, no, we had a lot, and all that rain has left California pretty much drought-free. This is good news, especially as we head into the summer months.
Yeah, who would have thought? Like, a couple years ago, it was all about how dry and how droughty it was in the West, and now it's all gone. That's good news. But, our partners at CBS Sacramento caught up with one festival organizer to find out how they weathered this weekend's storm.
That would be optimal, right? But weather is not going to be optimal necessarily everywhere today. A lot of good spots, and you can see overall in the forecast for today, we're not anticipating a lot of delays, maybe on the West Coast. Keep an eye on San Francisco. Other than that, looking pretty good weather-wise. A lot of the thunderstorms that we're tracking are going to be tonight, and so that's when we'll be looking at that possibility for, maybe the late last flights of the day into perhaps South Dakota or Nebraska. Could be dealing with some thunderstorms, maybe even Kansas. But I think that'll be more isolated. So we look at the flights right now, no issues. You can see how they're all kind of lining up. There actually are highways in the sky, just like on the ground. And you can see one that kind of parallels right along, looks like Interstate 81 right there, doesn't it? You can see how the flights kind of all gather there. You have to be organized up there, and that's what the air traffic controllers do. So we have that potential for maybe a few thunderstorm delays later on today, down and around Richmond, Virginia, around Norfolk. There is a chance of a few thunderstorms, especially this evening, causing some travel delays both on the roads and in the air. Greg.
We'll stay on top of your threats to the day in a language that works for you. Wow, we have a tornado threat that goes not just today, but into tomorrow in some of the same or nearby areas anyway.
Yes, now the Weather Channel has you covered from coast to coast. Some folks over the weekend had beautiful weather. You either just complimented the weather or you didn't even notice it. But there were many actually to deal with some blustery conditions, driving up the waves. Look at the water out here in Wellfleet, Massachusetts.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of a nor'easter.
I know.
Like a wintertime event, but we're mid-April. It can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty raw this weekend in parts of the Northeast, but things are all settling down. High pressure's building in. Temperatures are warming up, and that's key, actually, for Boston because it is Marathon Monday.
Marathon Monday, and have a look at the forecast. I think we're looking really good for the next couple of days for the whole just northeastern part of the country that's been dealing with colder conditions and windy conditions. Seems like since last fall.
I mean, right? things are starting to warm up. Everything's in bloom. It's such a pretty day up here in the Northeast. So we'll take you into that forecast, but we do need to focus on the severe threat because that's going to start to ramp up today, and several severe weather threats actually are